Are you looking for hard-hitting journalism on this show?
Ask the Hosts, Episode 2. I'm Joe.
I'm Dalton.
I'm Félim.
And I'm Gary.
Hello, chaps. So you should know the deal by now. You send us your questions, we answer them. They can be about anything you like, except for Linux and open source. You can send in your questions to show@askthehost.com. And if you were a patron, you could have been hearing this 2 weeks ago. And if you are a patron, thanks a lot for supporting us. It really means a lot. So the first question from Adam. What's your worst mistake involving a soldering iron? And my worst mistake is picking one up ever.
So, I mean, other than the obvious, I hurt myself with a soldering iron. Remember that Wii U that I had? We talked about it on Linux After Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I bought it, the USB port on the back, it's got two of them, and one of them had all the pins smashed in and stuff. And I thought, oh, well, this should be easy. I'll just take the old one out. It's all through-hole soldering, and I'll put a new one in. No problem, right?
Yeah, I've tried this on a Pi. I think there's a lot of problem there.
So as it turns out, the USB port is on the ground plane of a board because it is grounded, like most things are. And if you only have a TS100 soldering iron that can put out like, I don't know, 40, 50 watts, you can't actually melt the solder on the thing. So my Wii U now has a new USB port, but only one of them works because I destroyed the pads going to one of them. So I started with a Wii U that has one port that works, and I ended with a Wii U that has one port that works. And I put it back together, and I'm never talking about it again.
Just use a hub, it'll be fine.
I don't think it supports hubs.
Oh, no.
I have a similar story where I was working on recapping a monitor to make it work. And I had a brand new soldering iron, which I am by no means a soldering expert. And I didn't realize I needed to tin the tip of the soldering iron or anything. So that was one problem. So I had to desolder the old caps. And I'm doing that thing and blah, blah, blah. And like I said, it's a new soldering iron. And all of a sudden I look down and I see a bunch of smoke. I'm like, what's going on? And it turns out that the cord, it was still coiled and everything, you know? So it was like shaped weird. And like as I looked up to look at something, I accidentally tapped the power cord with the iron and started melting it.
Lovely.
Luckily, I caught that before it got too bad. But then so I finally get through and I get the first cap installed. And then I look at the work and I go, I put it on backwards. So at that point, I'm like, all right, this has been an experience and I think I'm done for today. And I have not touched it since.
Well, I tried to fix my mum's laptop once. The power jack broke because it was a straight connector rather than a right angle one. And it just wore loose after a while. And so I bought the part for like £1 off eBay and then tried to desolder the old one because it was like, oh, it's only 7 connections. I can desolder that without a solder sucker and without a precise soldering iron and without any experience. Well, that did not go well. And I ended up just destroying it, basically, just destroying that motherboard. I mean, it's only a 2nd gen or 3rd gen i3, so it's not the end of the world. But it's still very annoying that is otherwise a perfectly good laptop that I just destroyed with my terrible soldering skills. I also, once upon a time, had a soldering iron that the end fell off and burnt my table because I wasn't using any sort of protective mat.
How?
It's a quality purchase, that was.
Yeah, exactly. This was a gas-powered one as well because I didn't really have anywhere to plug in where I wanted to do the job. And so I got a gas-powered one. You just, you put lighter gas in it, butane or whatever, and it just got super hot and I was soldering and it was pretty cheap and just the end just fell off and now there's a big burn on my kitchen table and has been for the last like 5 years.
So was like the tip just not tightened all the way?
Yeah, I think. Okay. I don't know.
That's nothing. I can give you a 2-for-1 here. So back in uni, one of my subjects was physics, and the physics lab, they had these, it was obviously before Pis and all that, and they had these technicians who built these parallel port interfaces to the amazing Amstrad PCs that they had in the labs. And, we were doing things like, soldering up a circuit to do gravity. You'd drop a weight on a motor on a piece of string and it would spin the motor and then you'd detect, what gravity was, all this type of rubbish. And I was like, I know how to solder. This will be no big deal at all. Proceeded to solder to fix something after the circuit was partially built. And every time I touched the soldering iron off the board, it would spark. And I was like, huh? What's going on here? And I'm like, Okay, I'll keep going because, this is weird. Until I realized, Jesus Christ, I've still got the power plugged into the board that I'm trying to solder to. And to try and cover my tracks of, I've just been a massive muppet, I put the soldering iron into the holder. It fell out. And I went, oh, can't deal with that now. Flick the power off on this thing real quick. Went to get the soldering iron. Just out of habit or sort of distraction, I didn't grab it by the handle. I grabbed it by the thicker part of the tip and picked it up. But because I was so stressed, it took about a second before I realized I was sizzling. And yeah, it was quite sore.
Jesse asks, where does the I've been name thing come from? So at the end of episodes, I'll say, I've been Joe, I've been Félim, whatever. And so, yeah, where does that come from? I bet none of you even know, do you? Because you're not from the UK.
Nope.
Is it from Never Mind the Buzzcocks, the comedy quiz?
It is from every TV show in the UK that involves people not being scripted. So, every panel show, every... Just, that kind of light-hearted, light entertainment show. Like, it's just what you say at the end of the episode. You just say, I've been whoever I've been, and I've been whoever. It's really that simple. And just people ask this all the time, or not all the time, but every so often it comes up. And Americans just don't know that. I thought you people had our panel shows over there.
Surely have Never Mind the Buzzcocks, because that's surely everywhere.
So what do Americans say at the end of similar shows? My name is, or what?
Goodbye.
I don't think they really outintroduce themselves. Is that a thing? Outintroduce? Introduce, right? I can't think of anything that really does that, really.
No.
Fire a few rounds off into the lights above the camera and go yeehaw.
Well, there you go, Jesse and everyone else who has asked. It's just a British thing. What can I say? Joe asks, not me, what are some other vote with your money type decisions that you make in addition to preferring to support FOSS versus proprietary software? Almost snuck in a mention of Linux and open source. We're not allowed to talk about that. But what other vote with your money type decisions do you make?
I refuse to pay for streamed music that I don't get to keep at the end of the month. So I have always used 7 Digital because I can't get Amazon in Ireland. Despite the fact they're European headquarters here, you can't use amazon.co.uk or DE or .fr to buy any music. And you certainly can't use .com because of the whole license bullshit that goes on with regions and stuff. So 7 Digital has been the primary one, but they've kind of gone a bit rubbish of late. I don't know, it's like they lost contracts with music producers. So Qobuz, Qobuz is one I've been using of late, but it's pretty expensive because it's Flax for about $2.50 roughly, and it's painful.
What about iTunes? Why don't you buy it from Apple, eh?
The audience probably didn't hear the few second pause between that.
That was the point where I died a little on the inside. No, I am not going to fund my enemy to give me music that I... No, just no.
Just listen to music on YouTube, come on.
Well, I mean, I do that. But a lot of the stuff I find on YouTube I then buy because I like to have my own music. If something's good, I'll pay for it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I do the same thing, except most of my digital music comes from the Amazon digital stuff or using Amazon Day Delivery stuff.
Yeah.
But aside from that, the most things I do with the Vote With Your Money is just basically boycotting certain stores and other businesses that are known to have bad practices, stuff like that kind of stuff.
So you just never spend any money ever then?
No, I mean, obviously you've got to deal with some of that, but I mean the really bad ones, I'll just say I won't eat hate chicken, if that makes sense to you.
Hate chicken?
I didn't want to name the company, but there's a certain company that helps fund anti-LGBTQ stuff and stuff like that. So they got nicknamed Hate Chicken. Since a lot of my friends are in the LGBTQ community, I obviously don't support that company at all.
I don't like McDonald's. I don't like anything they stand for. And so I'm not giving them my money. There's times when I've been starving and there's nothing else around. And I'd rather just go and get a packet of crisps or something from a petrol station, even though I would love to go and have delicious, horrible McDonald's. But no, they just don't get my money.
I have heard that there's kind of this thing of slow food taking hold in Europe. And, well, obviously you're not in Europe anymore, but...
I like that. Nice, Dalton, nice.
Is that the kind of reason why you wouldn't go to Mickey D's?
Well, no, because I go to a small fried chicken place, although I haven't been for a long time, to be fair. But like, independently owned fast food, I have no problem with that. I mean, it is obviously really bad for you. But I'll get pizza and fried chicken and all sorts. It's just the fact that McDonald's, I don't like what they stand for.
So we're not allowed to talk about technology, right? Basically, it's trying not to buy any new electronics if I can help it. Or if I can buy something used or refurbished, I'll try to do that and support someone who's actually fixing something instead of just making a new one. That's a pretty significant amount of where my buying habits go.
Yeah, that's kind of like the whole thing of the most ecologically friendly car or laptop or whatever is the one that you have already got.
Right, and one of the times where I broke that rule was when I bought the Framework laptop, and that was an absolute mistake.
Everyone else disagrees with you on that for some reason.
What did Framework do to you? I mean, can you point to on the doll where the Framework laptop touched you?
I think it's the USB port from the Wii was the problem.
I don't hate them. I just don't recommend buying one. And maybe they've gotten better in the 12th and 13th gen stuff and the AMD stuff that isn't out yet. I don't know, but I don't want to buy a new laptop to find out either.
I'd like to say that I don't spend money with disruptive companies like Uber, Airbnb, but the bottom line is that it's just too convenient and too cheap, and I have done in the past. But that's one I'd like to vote with my wallet on because I saw that funny tweet, like, what's your favorite modern tech development? Is it illegal cab company, illegal hotel company, digital money for criminals or something like that? Just taking the piss out of all the companies. Like, but I wish I could not use those kind of services because they're no better than the likes of McDonald's. They're worse.
Mm-hmm.
But Uber's just so convenient and cheap.
The problem is the way they come in and, in inverted commas, disrupt, i.e. they use a load of free fake money to destroy other companies, and then you're left with nothing but a wasteland of their crap afterwards when they then do actually jack the prices up to the level that they need to actually function as a company.
Or completely go out of business and then there's no options left because money isn't free anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Amazon. I feel like I shouldn't spend money with them, but it's just so convenient to get stuff delivered the next day for a reasonable price still.
Oh, you just can't do that in America anymore.
You don't? I do.
Oh, well.
I do all the time.
Yeah, but you live in a proper city, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose.
Gary, whereas Dalton lives in the back of beyond, as we would say.
Yeah, I'm like, there's at least 2 distribution centers within like tens of miles. One of them's like 10 minutes away. The other one's 45 minutes away. But, they're not far.
Yeah, whereas up in the frozen tundra where you are, Dalton, it's a little bit harder to get stuff to you the next day.
It's very nice outside today. I can't tell you how warm it is because you won't understand the number I say.
I know plenty of Americans who use Celsius these days.
And I'm too stupid.
I just usually give both.
All right, Lucifer, I don't know how you say that, asks, what are your strategies to make sure you're not getting trapped in your own bubble and don't get trapped in an echo chamber? I wish I could say I had some, is all I can say.
Guys, I'm pretty sure I'm trapped in an echo chamber.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole Mastodon thing. Now that I've left Twitter, and even when I was active on Twitter, I would just block anyone who I disagreed with. And on Mastodon, you can block whole instances. And anyone who comes in the Telegram group and is an arsehole gets banned. And so I don't have any strategies. And it's probably bad, but I don't care.
I wouldn't say blocking assholes really makes an echo chamber. I think it just, sets community guidelines. But like for me, I mostly just try to run ideas and stuff past everybody I can, even the unwilling sometimes.
Randos at the bus stop that you're harassing, right. Essentially, yeah?
Hey, have you heard of this thing called Pigeon?
Yeah, see, exactly.
Jesus.
Exactly. Especially when I'm like talking about like a design or something I want to change in Pigeon. I want to go and talk to as many people as I can kind of thing to get different input, right? And that's the same thing for everything in daily life too, right? Like, I constantly run into this battle with myself where like, I'm hungry. I don't want to cook food. I need to find food. But I have like 4 restaurants I go to and I get tired of them, right? So I'm always like, hey, anybody got any recommendations for food? Stuff like that. Cause like, I don't know. I need to have something different because otherwise I just get burnt out on it. But, it's the same thing minus, political ideology or something like that. It's the same concept, right? Echo chamber of food. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching it here.
I don't know, man. It sounds like you need to listen to some of the other late night Linux shows and visit some of the sponsors. Just saying.
Recently, I was trying to look up a few different sources on this greedflation thing, this idea that corporate greed is the main thing that's causing inflation right now. It's a hot button topic. What I mainly just did is DuckDuckGo'd the term and then found all the news sources that I know are left and right, because it basically alternates as you go down the page, right? And read a bunch of them. And when you do that, you do end up finding that there are similar things that are said in both, and that's probably where the truth lies. And there's a lot of things that are just completely different between the two, and well, that's probably where the opinion came from.
Well, I said that I have left Twitter. I haven't fully left. I've just stopped posting. I still lurk there. And I get notifications randomly for the various accounts that I'm signed into. And sometimes you see some really unsavory shit there from right-wing arseholes. I mean, I don't even think right-wing is the word for it. But I do kind of sometimes get down a rabbit hole of just seeing how far it goes, how bad it gets. And I suppose that's my way of attempting, at least, to not be in an echo chamber and trapped in my own bubble.
I don't know if I'm trapped in an echo chamber. I'm sure I am, but I don't know. Is that an echo chamber of just decent people being like human to each other as opposed to lunatics on the internet?
Yeah, I don't think that looking at right-wing Twitter is really the way to not be in an echo chamber.
I mean, yeah, it's like, well, okay, so you watch The Daily Show, you find that funny, and you all have a laugh about people, or you watch John Oliver, and people maybe would on the other side would go, oh my God, that's so libertarian, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, it's just funny. It's they're pointing fun at people being ridiculous. And I think it's very hard to say, oh, I'm in an echo chamber. It's like, no, you're just lunatics over there, and we all know you're lunatics, and you can call that whatever you want, but it's been lunatics. And just not associated with that, is that not just being like customized to finding decent folk about the place? I mean, yeah, fair enough. You might, if you constantly look at news and it's only on Linux stuff, then yeah, fair enough. Oh, I know we're not supposed to mention it, but I mean, it's the only news I check are like military stuff and Linux stuff online. So I can't talk about anything else really. Like normal news stuff, whatever. I just go to news channels. We don't have it, I think, as bad here where, you know, there's a right wing and a left wing media. It's not quite the same.
Yeah, because Murdoch's not in charge of your media.
Thank fuck.